Hello, esteemed viewers. Welcome to another episode. Well, okay, not another episode. This is something new. I think I'm gonna put something in the description about the kind of the origins of this show, which I'm thinking of calling Jekyllstein Gray Talks. um, and I'll put that probably in the description for those who are interested. Yeah, so sorry the mic is so close to my face. I don't think it picks up sound super well or something. I wanted to it's literally 12:30 a.m. right now, and I mentioned on Jekyllstein Gray Plays that my sisters were complaining. So yeah, I'm trying to keep things generally pretty just pretty soft on my end, but I also wanted to be able to hear me, so this is the solution I arrived at. It's not ideal, but sorry. Yeah, so this was originally going to be I watch a bunch of trailers and kind of a weird, like I watch and react to a bunch of trailers in a row, and then how do I put this? Well, I'm gonna watch a bunch of trailers in a row, and then kind of talk about them all one after another. So I was gonna do the Batman trailer, and I was gonna compare it to Watchmen for the HBO series, which is really good. You should go watch it. Go watch the Watchmen. Yeah. So that's still part of the plan. It's a bit harder to do, I think, especially in this environment, and I wasn't gonna record anything tonight, anything else, because I did an episode of Poe and Monroe earlier today. I actually tried to do two, but one of the recordings freaked out. So what else is new? Anyway, so then I watched Movies with Mikey's animation video lessons. Animations taught us, and I was like, it's been literally 2 years since this came out. But I had no idea who Movies with Mikey was at the time, and I only got this channel recently, so I'm going to send. I'm gonna do this. This is a lessons animations taught us video. And I'm gonna send it to Movies with Mikey. He is almost certainly not gonna watch it, and honestly, I cannot blame him. So if you are watching this, Mikey, well, this really means a lot to me. If you are watching, it's your show's been a big inspiration, and your like warmth and general love of the media you're talking about is really inspiring. As much as I am a pedantic smartass, a lot of the times I am really, I do try and celebrate. All the games I played are games that I do genuinely adore. I got really upset when one of the you couldn't even hear one of the a video I did, a really personal video on one of my favorite games. Anyway, that's sorry. I go on tangents a lot. If you're a returning viewer, which probably aren't. There aren't many of them, that you're probably thinking, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Anyway, so this is also probably going to have to be a two-parter. I'm going to have to go to bed soon. I got class at 10 in the morning tomorrow, so it's not, again, I'm not going to stay up. It's not going to be that hard, but it's, still probably better to get a good night's sleep, So this is probably going to be a two-parter at least. I would also maybe like to do a lessons games have taught us. I might just do that on my own, and I probably won't send it to Mikey Newman. So yeah, let's start with probably the most influential one on me. That is Disney's 1997 classic Hercules, which takes up a weird amount of my childhood memories. Like not like all I remember is watching Hercules, although I like literally watched it with my sister like every Sunday. At least that's how I remember it. But also like a lot of my other childhood memories that really didn't have anything to do with Hercules, I like filtered through the lens of Hercules. So I would like think Hercules quotes and relate them to my own situation. It was weird. I was a weird kid, and I'm still a weird person. So I've got a prop I'm gonna show later. I keep looking at it for some reason. It's weird because there was always one part of Hercules that I skipped, and that was the scene where he accidentally destroys the whole like agora or forum or whatever, the agora I think is what it's supposed to be. And the reason I skipped it is because I think it felt too raw for me. I mean, like, I am a 6 foot, like 6'4". No, I'm like 6'2", 6'3". You know, I've always been big. I was born. I was actually born early. Like I was born a week early, but I was like really big. I was a big baby. Some would argue that I still am. Anyway, so I've always had that like being afraid of hurting other people because, you know, I'm big, and growing up with two younger sisters and having a lot of the other thing is I am on the spectrum. I talk about it a lot. If you're a returning viewer, you're like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But it is a part of me, and I don't think I knew it. I think I was only told when I was in like 4th grade. Although I always knew there was something, they would literally take me away from in summer I had to spend like 6 hours a day in 2nd grade at a camp called Stride, and it was like, it wasn't bad, but looking back I was like, this shouldn't have been necessary. This shouldn't have been. Yeah, anyway, they took me out of school to go there, and that was not I don't like that. I mean, I might have liked it at the time. I don't remember. I was a completely different person back then, but I don't like it now because I wasn't in school. Anyway, so basically the combination of him accidentally breaking something and then being ostracized, I think, was a lot too much for me, even at the time. So I think, I think one of the reasons why, actually that's something a lot of animation has, this weird thing. It was in, what was one of the movies with Mikey things? It was, it kind of was in Sword of the Stone. I haven't seen that in forever. I can't remember. Anyway, so Dumbo. Dumbo was what I think, and it was interesting how he was super hard on it, and definitely, the stuff about the stuff about the racism and all that was definitely valid. There was a lot of valid criticism about Dumbo. I feel like he was like, it felt like he was saying that it was bad because it portrayed that kind of cruelty, and I kind of disagree. I think the fact that it did have all of this this raw and okay, basically the reason is Dumbo's the protagonist and you're supposed to feel bad for him. That's basically why. There's a lot of stuff. Again, I didn't go through anything nearly as bad as what he does in that movie, but I did feel like a freak sometimes. like there was something wrong with me and it was out of my control. But I also really like how Dumbo's ears are not only in they're not only I wasn't even planning on, didn't even think about Dumbo before, but I like how Dumbo's ears are an asset. They're not just not a hindrance, they're an asset. Asset to the capitalist machine, but they're still an asset. Yeah, so I guess Dumbo could be seen as a pretty good disability rights movie, at least from my experience. I'm sure there's other people on the spectrum and people with different disabilities who would disagree with me, and I welcome their criticism in the comments. Yeah, so, what was I talking? Oh yeah, Hercules. So yeah, it was kind of a similar Hercules vibe. I mean, if you see yourself in Hercules, then it is kind of like, oh hey, you are descended from Disney-fied Zeus, so that's cool. Yeah, so I think there was that in. Actually, I'm not sure why my sister liked it so much. Maybe it's entirely possible that I was just making her watch it with me. Like I was just pressuring her into watching it with me, and I didn't know she was just watching it But I also don't that has happened definitely in the past. I don't think that was the case then. I don't know why. I don't have anything to back it up. This is all kind of vague memory stuff. Again, I was in second grade. But I think that she I think she might have saw herself. I think she might have seen herself in Meg. I mean, we all loved the no chance, no way, I won't say it. No. I was actually pretty into a lot of girl stuff back when I was a kid, and my parents encouraged it, which I liked. I got bullied in kindergarten, I think, for liking Wonder Woman. Bit funny now. Who's laughing now? Two random girls who bullied me for liking Wonder Woman, whose names I can't remember and who might have not even existed. It might have been a fabricated memory. Anyway. Yeah, so so I think Meg is actually a really good, she's certainly more interesting than most Disney heroines, and there's one thing that Lore Runner pointed out on his thing that I'm totally not cribbing from and failing at, where he talks about how a lot of times they have these strong female characters who get I was going somewhere with this and I just realized Hercules kind of does this too. They have these strong female characters who ultimately end up getting traditionified in the third act, they're new-ish, they're feminist-ish at the very beginning, and then in the third act they get sidelined. While the men do all the final busy work and stuff, which that sucks. Again, that happens to Megan. I'd completely forgotten about that. But she also is she's different in a lot. She's like Lindsay said, she's in league with the villain, and she's pretty world weary. There's actually a joke that there's content warning. I don't know how to put in skip marks. How about, okay, if you want to skip it, check the description and I will put a link. I'll put a timestamp that'll take you past, and I'm sorry, I do need to learn how to do this, considering how much I talk about this type of stuff on the show, but and it's not okay. Content warning. Check the description. There's a thing down there right now. And okay, so this is all my way of saying that there's actually a rape culture joke, I think, or at least that's how I interpret it. There's that line that that's basically, you know how men are. They think no means yes, and yes means take me, I'm yours. And yeah, that's actually pretty accurate. And Meg definitely had interactions with guys like, I mean, if she was in ancient Greece, then well, she wouldn't have had nearly as much agency. But you know, it's a Disney version. Who cares? And she also would have but obviously even in today, I'm sure she had to deal with guys like that. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what else. I really should have watched these movies before, but I was just like really inspired by this, and I wanted to talk about my memories of them. Yeah. So Phil is way worse than I remember. Yeah. I think I liked him, or at least was like could tolerate him. When he was when I was watching it. Now I can't. Fuck him. Fuck Phil. Sorry, Lindsay. now I'm just having delusions of grandeur, thinking that Lindsay Ellis is gonna be watching this. But if my delusions are somehow correct, sorry for stealing your joke, or not joke, like statement, Lindsay. Yeah. So the how do I put this? I don't even know if I was gonna say anything. So yeah, Phil's bad. Generally the whole one watching Hades, it's one of those like, it's so good, but I hate the person who did. Like James Wood is awful, but his work is so good. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, so it's kind of a good thing that there's a part. I'm gonna do a part 2 of this. Obviously, partly it's because I so much want to talk about. And there's probably gonna be more. But I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'll be like, oh man, I need to talk about such and such film. And I do actually need. I might need to do Into the Spider-Verse, although that's really recent, and I kind of want to talk about stuff that's been more. I don't know. Yeah, so building up to it, we're gonna get to this thing, this thing in a second. So the second thing I want to talk about is one that I would honestly not be surprised if no one. I mean, I'm sure people talked about Hercules all over the place during these what Lessons Animations Taught Us video. I do think that what was I gonna say? So I'm sure Hercules talks about. I'm not sure how many people are gonna be talking about Sanjay's Super Team, which is a Pixar short, and I can't remember what it aired in front of. My gut instinct is The Good Dinosaur, which I did see in theaters. That was a weird movie. I actually don't really want to get too much into it. It was like disturbing. Like it like legitimately disturbed me. And I was like, again, I was a teenager when it came out. And I was watching it with a friend and her kid. Like a family friend, like a friend of my parents had extra tickets, and me and my sister's gonna factor a lot into this, I guess. Watched it. Sanjay's Super Team. I actually knew about the creator, like Sanjay Patel, because of this book. It's called I'm holding it badly. Here we go. It's the video is mirrored. This is the first time I'm doing this, in case you couldn't tell by the everything about this. So I'm Batman. I don't know, the book over my eyes just made me think of that. Delusions of Grandeur, remember? Oh, I do need to talk about Mask of the Phantasm. Not today though. I need to gather my thoughts on that. that was actually one I saw for the first time recently. Okay, so anyway, this book is called it's Ramayana Divine Loophole, and here, I'm just gonna quote part of it. I assume most people who saw The Good Dinosaur, like, even though I don't think very many people did, I imagine very few people had read this book. And it's actually really good. You should definitely check it out. It's a very, very, very simplified, broad strokes version of the Ramayana. But I think one of my dad's colleagues loaned it to us, and then me, I loved it, and my sisters, I think, loved it too so much that we just bought our own copy. And it's got some gorgeous art. It's got some neat. It's pretty well written. Yeah. So, but I want to read a quote from the intro. It says, let's see. I'm certain that for most people, Ramayana, because it has the pronunciation guide, is just an unpronounceable word. But for me, the Ramayana is part of my cultural identity, although until recently, I wouldn't have been able to explain what it meant if someone had asked. The world of the Ramayana was ingrained in me as a kid through the details of living with Hindu parents. For instance, every time I sneezed, my mom and dad would say, Sita Rama. I had no idea what the phrase meant, just like I had no idea why we had a framed illustration of a giant monkey carrying a mountain. Or my dad made me count mala beads while chanting Rama, Rama, Rama. Eventually I started researching Hindu mythology for my first book. I began to scratch the surface of the Ramayana. But the story didn't really come alive for me until I picked up a book and read the entire saga. So, if you have seen Sanjay Super Team, you know exactly, I hope I've blown some of your minds, because I'm sure I didn't, but if I did, subscribe. I might do it again, and the planets might align. Yay. So, now I'm thinking of Gatekeepers Book 2. I needed to talk about the Gatekeepers on this. That was a formative series for me. When I'm surprised that my parents let me read. Anyway, so I actually am disappointed in Anthony Horror. Okay, never mind. That's too. That I'll talk about that if I ever do one of these on the Gatekeepers, because I can actually talk about books. I can talk about Jekyll and Hyde and Dorian Gray and Frankenstein. Yeah, so my name makes more sense now, I hope. Yeah, so I don't know why I'm looking at the back of the book. So yeah, so if you've seen the what's it called? If you've seen Sanjay Super Team, you know what I'm about to say. If you haven't seen it, it's basically about, it's a short Pixar short about a Indian, presumably Indian. I'm assuming, because there's a lot of it might just straight up be figures from Indian mythology. I can't remember exactly. There's certainly, the guy who directed it, his name is Sanjay, and he talks about his Indian heritage, so I'm just assuming that he is Indian. He talks about the basically the plot is the dad is trying to get him to participate in a Hindu ritual, and he doesn't want to, and he gets he wants to he wants to do the Western action here, a superhero show, and the dad keeps trying to get him to stop, and he has a dream or a hallucination or something. I can't remember what exactly, but he sees a scene from Hindu mythology, and he realizes that it's really awesome, and then he gets super he gets super finds out that Hindu mythology is actually really cool, and he the dad lets him do, finally relents, and he's like, yeah, okay, you can watch the show, and then he's like, hey, I kind of know now, and then he sits down and participates in the ritual, and it's really a sweet little story. And I honestly was kind of annoyed. Okay, let me back up. So I was raised Mormon. That's actually going to be relevant for what's probably going to be the last movie I talk about for this episode. I'm not just going to limit myself to movies. I'm going to talk about some animated shows. So I always kind of was told, they really tried. They and by they I mean not all Mormons, obviously. I mean the curriculum and the teachers. They really tried to make Mormonism cool. There was a clip of Thor, I remember one time, that they played in Sunday school. There was a lot of stuff like that. It wasn't. It was not. I thought it was at the time, but that was because I was believing everything my leaders told me, because it's a pretty mild cult, but still a cult. Yeah. So the idea of religious figures being portrayed that way at first kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but then I was like, well, first of all, there's not really a Mormon or a Christian parallel to shapeshifting monkey that can carry an entire mountain of medicine. So I can kind of buy these people as superheroes a bit more, these characters. The other thing obviously is that it's not just about religion. It's about culture and heritage. So I mean, he talks about in the book about growing up surrounded by this iconography that he didn't understand, and he only learned to appreciate when he was older. Yeah, so I think that's another thing. The more of the context I take into account, the more I'm like, yeah, this is actually a really cool and sweet story. So yeah, it's very. I'm trying to think. There's. I didn't really think about this, but the idea that the fact that the dad relents and lets him do what he wants, and then that he actually chooses to embrace the religion is both less like I don't want to say creepy, but less control-y, less culty, and it makes his arc stronger, because he's not just accepting it. He actively realizes that his culture has done great things, has made really cool shit. And if there's if I'm getting something wrong, let me know. I really do want to hear that I'm wrong about stuff like this, because I have very little contact with Indian culture. One of my professors is Indian, and I was actually in class with her earlier today, or technically yesterday, but take your EpiPen with you. And they're talking about the dot and the bendy, I think is what it's called. Again, I'm sorry, mate. And I was thinking of the swari or sorry, and it and she was cool about it. When I was, someone answered Bendy, and I was thinking of the swari or sorry. I can't remember which one it was called, and it sounds like I'm apologizing, which I do apologize a lot. She and I was like, so I thought it was called a sorry. Was that something else? And she was like, yeah, it's the for those of you who don't know, it's the kind of traditional, very like folding. It kind of reminded me of a toga. I'm sure that's bringing up false comparisons, and I'm sure there's tons of differences. But it's a piece of cloth that is folded in a traditional way, yeah. So Sanjay's super team. I think if I had one lesson I learned from it, it would be, it taught me to. It didn't teach me that other cultures had stuff that was valuable per se, but it did kind of like. Okay. I feel like, there's so many like discussions about like how Western culture is the best, and we did no other culture. By Western culture they mean white culture, and the first of all, it's bullshit. Modern day Iraq, like what would later become Iraq, was called the cradle of civilization for good reason. They did not look like I did. In fact, the term barbarian originally referred to people who look like me. So that's bullshit. But I think there's, okay, basically there's such a predominant on Western, by which I mean white, culture in our media, that it is easy for people to grow up thinking that like if they don't see any examples of great work, the Ramayana is amazing. Like if they don't grow up seeing any of that, then they're not going to people look like me are not gonna learn, and we're gonna lose out on great stuff. And so it wasn't, obviously I had read this book, I had known that great stuff came out, but it was another like good reminder, because I feel like we have to be reminded. It can't just be a token, oh, this is one of the good ones, the good arts that they did. It's it's a good reminder. And I do like, I didn't quite have the same context for Bao. Again, I wasn't planning on talking about it, so my mind makes connections and I follow where they lead. So I think it was called Bao. It's BAO. I don't know if that was actually how it was pronounced. People were mocking it, and looking back, that was definitely like bad. It wasn't good. It was very, obviously there was a lot of like dismissal and mockery, and which again sucked, because there were, I saw a lot of, people like who were quoted in articles and on Twitter, Chinese Americans or Asian Americans, or I don't know how I don't know if it was specifically about Asian culture or about Chinese culture in specific, or something else. I don't know. But people from the culture that Bao was about, who said that it really it affected them, and I was like, and it was interesting, and I don't remember the context, and it didn't resonate with me in the same way that Sanjay's Super Team did, but again, it was a nice reminder. So the last movie, I'm just gonna talk about this one last. I have a big list. I might do another, I don't know, it depends. I could get 8 hours if I went to bed at 2, but I also have to upload this, and I also don't want to get it up at 40 minutes before I have class. So I'll do a part 2 probably tomorrow. So since I have this book here, art book of The Incredibles. Oh man, I'm really close to the screen, to the camera. So yeah, I want to talk about The Incredibles. Obviously there's a lot great stuff to be said. And I want to talk about more specifically how it impacted me. First of all, the insurance subplot was amazing. I did not understand it at all when I was a kid. I was like, why? I actually remember thinking that he was being an asshole to her. Asshole isn't even a strong enough word. and like to the old lady, I didn't get the context that she had to pretend to be sad, and I just love that trope. I love the like, oh man, I totally don't want you to do this, but secretly, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I totally, you should definitely do this. The Deserter Clone Wars episode, which I talked about in one of my other videos. I can't remember which one. It's all a blur. So yeah, what was I gonna say? So the incredible, so that was fun. I don't really want to focus on that though. What I do want to talk about is Violet. And Violet kind of gets like, she kind of gets under talked about, which makes sense. She doesn't have as much of a presence, and she's not as like charismatic and memorable as Dash. Although Dash doesn't get talked about that much either. But Violet is very. I actually resonated a lot with her, and I don't think I noticed it, or I didn't when I first thought it. I kind of went through a phase of like, oh, I'm too grown up for all those kids shows and Star Wars and things, and I had to come back to it. And I'm actually reevaluating stuff like How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda, which I thought were bad, but apparently everyone thinks they're good. So, and I haven't seen them since they were like out in theaters, so I'll rewatch them, and I might do a third one of these if I really like them. So Incredibles. So Violet, there's this one. So I think it's the first scene we see of Violet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first scene we see of Violet is the guy she likes, Tony Reitinger, is like walking out the school and being popular. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. Walking out of the school, surrounded by people, and she says, "Hey, Tony," and then he turns, and she is turned invisible. And that actually is a very telling character and a character establishing moment, and also one that I definitely resonate with. There is this weird thing with me. I don't know if it's an autism thing or if it's just a part of my personality where there's kind of this like desire to be seen and also a desire to be invisible. It's kind of a dualistic. Like, actually, I think the fact that she's covering one of her eyes but leaving one of them open is actually a kind of a fitting metaphor or symbol for that. And when she's accepting at the end, she actually has both. She has her hair tied back. So yeah, there is this kind of weird desire I have to be like acknowledged, but also not too much. Like I can, a lot of people, I think, kind of rightfully see autistic people as not desensitive. Like, okay, I do have problems expressing affection for other people. I also have problems receiving affection from other people. I mean, that's one of the, I actually left a comment on Mikey's video where it's like, I was like, hey, Mikey looks so cute as a, little kid, and he looks a lot like me, and I was a hideous monster baby, and it was tongue in cheek, logically. I know that's ridiculous. I don't personally care what I looked like when I was a baby. I kind of don't, but I also, emotionally am very self-conscious about pretty much any, I'm actually kind of dreading going back and watching myself record this because I don't like seeing myself on camera, especially not when I was a kid and maybe did things that I'm embarrassed by, even if other people don't actually get vicarious embarrassment from me. Yeah, there's a reason I can't watch The Office. Yeah, so, and I think there is So basically, the autistic people not being. I mean, I do feel affection for a lot of people. There and it is, but it's really hard. And then you couple into the fact that I was discouraged from. Well, I was discouraged from. I was very repressed by Mormonism in a sexual manner, which actually did not help. Like I definitely had it. Whenever you repress it, it leads to like coming out in weird ways, you know. And it wasn't obviously I didn't like physically hurt anyone, but I would like stare at people, and then like I would pull away, and I'd be like, I can't believe, like I would legitimately feel bad, you know. And I heard one person say like, okay, I have to do one more after this. I have to do one more. I heard one person, and you'll see why. I heard one person like mutter to her friend like, oh, he's such a stalker, and yes and no. Yeah, I mean, yes, I would say I was doing a stalking. I wasn't following anyone. I wasn't, doing any of that. But I did I did exhibit stalkerish behavior when I was around other women or people who I saw as women. And so sorry. And so I think I kind of, although it's also weird because especially now that I actually can, now that I'm not as repressed, let's say, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you don't worry about it. You'll figure it out. This video is so demonetized. It is so demonetized. I'm probably not going to get monetization anyway. So actually, I do have I'm gonna send it to Mikey Bates, and if he acknowledges it and sends it out, I mean, on the one hand, that's great. It would give my channel a visibility boost. On the other hand, I would be more visible, and again, I want to be seen, but I don't want to be too seen, or I want to be seen, but not like that. And honestly, the Incredibles lesson is something I'm still working on. And it's a weird, there's a lot of this. There's a lot of things that I can logically understand that I cannot emotionally accept. My work, I cannot, all my writing and all my, game design, graphs and whatnot. Other people have told me they're good. I can't accept it. I don't think, at best they're okay. They're acceptable. I don't see them as good. Hell, I'm still, there was one person who asked me out, and I never actually ended up going out with her because of weird reasons. Not it wasn't even, I don't even really understand what happened. And I still have a hard time accepting the fact that she actually liked me. Because I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's autism or if it's introversion and anxiety, or if it's self-esteem issues that are separate from autism, or if it is some combination of them all. But it's something that I have to work on. But I got Violet to help me, I guess. Yeah. So I feel like there's more I want to say about this subject. I'll bring it up later. I will always find a way to bring up a subject I want to talk about. I guess you just want to keep hammering okay, one last time. Even if we have trouble showing affection, we also have trouble receiving affectionate responses. I don't know if there is any I'll let you know if there's any, if I find a solution. And I'm not saying don't show affection. It's so weird. Just okay, basically, if you do show affection to an autistic person, great. And if they're receptive, great. It might just be my problem. If they seem very uncomfortable, it might it might not be the way that you it might not be. They might even be grateful, especially in the long term. But in the short term, there's a weird like is this something's wrong? This isn't right. Like they shouldn't think of me that way. Okay, yeah. So okay, so speaking of, I brought up the repression angle, and this might be a pretty bad place to end up on, but Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is actually my favorite Disney Renaissance movie and one of my favorite animated movies. I actually really I really liked the late stuff, and I think I always had the late Disney Renaissance. And I did have access to the early stuff. I did watch Little Mermaid, and I did watch the Lion King and all those things, but there was always something about the late stuff. And even today, I'm like, yeah, it's now I can put my finger on it. And I don't know if it was the same thing back then, but now it's interesting. It's new. The other stuff was very, Little Mermaid is a very traditional Disney. They're still they change stuff. But it is very traditional, whereas Hunchback, for better or worse, is very non-traditional. And I actually think later they actually embraced the new, that's where you get Lilo and Stitch, Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis. I'm definitely going to talk about Atlantis. I also should talk about Emperor's New Groove. Anyway, but I don't know. I don't know if there's something to say in Emperor's New about. I don't know if there's something I have to say about Emperor's New Groove. So okay, so Hellfire. Hunchback of Notre Dame, is basically Hellfire. All the best parts are totally similar to Hellfire. And I was actually, my sisters are like, Hiram, all you listen to is Hadestown and Hellfire. And I'm like, no. I was like, I listen to Celtic stuff and indie game soundtracks. And they're like, okay, so there's 4 things you listen to. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty much fair. There's a couple of other exceptions, but yeah. I recently discovered Nox Arcana, which was like where has this been my whole life? Because again, I am Jekyllstein Gray, and that is some gothic ass music. Yeah, so so I guess the last, oh wow, it's taking 50% of my CPU. The last thing I have to say, I guess, is, I mean, honestly, it's kind of, it's not that complicated. Hellfire is actually pretty on the nose. I mean, it's really on the nose. And it is something that, again, I definitely felt. I was never like, she will be mine or she will burn, but I could definitely identify with, hellfire, like fire, hellfire, this fire in my skin. This burning desire is turning me to sin. Like this feeling that there's just this fire inside of you that you can't get to go away no matter what, and you like, especially when you leave and you have a different perspective, you're like, yeah, well, it wasn't hurting anybody. In fact, again, repressing it hurt a lot more people. I mean, I don't want to blame my actions on specifically that, but I don't know. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother discussion. I don't know. I'm just gonna say I don't know where my biological ideas and my actual choices, where they stopped and where they started. But I can definitely identify with the feeling of I am going to burn in hell because of, well, I didn't actually think I was going to burn in hell. I didn't, because Mormons don't believe in hell, but that's a whole nother concept. But I was going to get eternally separated from my family or something. Again, I should really do one of these and just talk about a lot of random Mormon stuff. Yeah, so Yeah, so Hellfire. So again, that's kind of the basic point. I had also identified with Quasimodo. Um, you know, similar reasons. Similar to what's his face? Who was I talking about at the start of this? What was I? Uh, I can't remember. Um, Oh, Hercules. Kind of similar to Hercules in a weird way. Different, I guess, but also similar. Um, yeah. So the again, there's not much else to talk about. At least, again, this is all through my own personal lens and how this relates to my personal experiences. Obviously, there's a ton more to unpack in Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is, again, it has, has some. Oh, there actually is one thing I want to say, and it's kind of a hot take. And I think I mentioned this in the Tacoma video, the first one, but, well, I haven't recorded the second one yet, but I am probably going to later. I actually don't mind the gargoyles for the most part. I think they definitely should have been better implemented, and definitely could have been. And their song is atrocious. It grinds the whole thing to a halt, and just like, yeah, it grinds the whole thing to a halt and doesn't and kills the tone and kills the mood. It song's terrible. So basically, they have one moment I really hate the song, and there's one moment about them I really like, which is the line. I paraphrase, like, we're only made of stone, but we hoped that you were made of something more. I don't know. It's weird because I can't really understand what exactly they're saying, but it's a really, I think, a cool line. And I wish there was more stuff like it from the Gargoyles instead of just being forced comedy. They definitely do get in the way a lot, but most of the time they just like are there and they're gone until they have their own song, which goes on forever, or at least that's how it feels. Hellfire could go on for like 10 minutes, and I wouldn't even notice. Yeah. So I guess there is one thing I want to talk about, which is Lindsay Ellis again pointed this out again. If you're if my delusions are in fact true, and you are watching this, Lindsay, uh, I can definitely identify what you said about Quasimodo. Like, valuing her friendship, this Esmeralda's friendship, and deciding that and valuing what they brought to your life, but also be willing to let them go. Like, there was actually, I found out recently, and I'm obviously not going to name names. There was someone who I did actually really like, and and I never admitted it. I never had the courage to. I always just wanted to hang out with her as a friend, because there was a lot, even like, and I found out recently that she ended up with someone else, and it's not. It does hurt a little bit. It does, and I feel regret about what could have been, and whatnot. But I also, obviously I can't blame her. I never, first of all, I do wish that, again, I've only had one person ask me out, although apparently multiple people have, like, checked me out. Like, my parents told me that one time there was someone who checked me out in, like, not Downton Abbey, Westminster Abbey. We visited Westminster Abbey. It's a whole nother story. I apparently didn't notice. I probably would have noticed under normal circumstances, but also, like, when I'm in a place like Westminster Abbey, dating is the last thing on my mind. If I'm going there as part of a date, that's great, but yeah. So I didn't, I do wish that, it would be better for me. And I think a lot of, quote unquote incels, if there wasn't a patriarchal system in place, I think it would be better for everyone if people were more free. Like if women could ask a guy that they liked out, or not, like if people felt like they were unconstrained by meaningless norms and rules. something I know a lot about. Not gender stuff, but so general, more social rules in general. So like seriously, like half my talks with my parents are, why is it this way? Why did it have to be like this? Anyway, I'm rambling again. I'm sorry. It's late. But so yeah, so I found out that she was with someone else, and again, I never brought it up, and I don't know if she liked me. But I mean, and that's the other thing that I like it, that you can draw a line between like my own life and people in Hunchback, the characters in Hunchback, is, even though Quasimodo doesn't end up with Esmeralda, there was still value he got from their friendship. Like, there was still value he got from their friendship, and hopefully, she got value from his friendship too. So, yeah. So, I certainly got value out of this person's friendship. And even if it didn't end up the way I wanted to, I'm really glad I went on that journey. Yeah, so this has actually been a bit of soul bearing, which always goes well on the internet, and I will definitely continue. There's definitely more I want to talk about. Yeah, so this is new territory for me. And with my luck, it hasn't been recording. I mean, I'm like almost 100% positive. I did multiple tests. I can hear I can hear my voice in the earphones, which is always weird. But yeah, so if you've watched me for this long, thank you. Be sure to do the YouTube things, like, ring the bell. I should do hand motions. Yay! I can actually see. Actually, one thing I do want to hear, leave a comment about anything you want to talk about. But one thing I would like to hear your opinion on is, now that I'm using OBS and not when Microsoft's god awful like game capture, I would actually be really interested to hear if you wanted to see me on Jekyllstein Gray Plays. If you wanted to see me. If you wanted to actually see me while I played, if you wanted me to have like a little thing up here in the corner, I personally think, like, I kind of feel like it would be better if I just left it as my voice and like left my face for the talks sections. But if you think differently, please let me know, because I'm not dead set in that at all. So yeah, thank you, and thank you for watching. Share it with your friends if you like it, your enemies if you didn't. The standard running joke. Yeah. What else? Comments. I can't remember all the. I need to just like have a thing right here that says like. That just like has a list of all the YouTube things, all the reminders, the obligatory reminders that I'm contractually obligated to mention. I love the idea of contracts as I love the idea of contracts I've joked about like the man contract, where every man has to sign, where they have an obligatory period where they have to pretend that they hate Taylor Swift music, where they're either just like indifferent or even like it. I'm indifferent. I don't really, I just feel nothing when I listen. I feel nothing and I think about nothing when I listen to her stuff. But other people like it, so who cares? I shouldn't say who cares. I don't care. Yeah. So yeah, I just love the idea of I'm rambling trying to get to the 1 hour mark, because I am inattentive. Oh yeah, I just love the idea of abstract ideas being brought, and I think it's really funny to have like abstract ideas being made manifest. There was a nightly show clip I saw where it was about, what's her name, the like the person who says that she's black, and there's like a whole debate about like whether she's trans race or whatever. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Anyway, there was a there's a clip where there was Larry Wilmore is the generally the normal person, behind the desk, and he gets, he's debating with all the correspondents, and one of them's like, I'm here at Black headquarters, and I don't know, the idea of a Black headquarters is just hilarious to me. It's again, it's an abstract, a nebulous abstract concept that's constantly in flux, and so the idea that it's a single organization is just really funny to me. Yeah, so it looks like I'm not gonna hit the hour-long mark, but I don't really know what else to say. So, oh my god, I can hear differently now. Can you still? Yeah, I think you can still hear me. That was weird. Yeah, computer audio, man. Computer, it just. I still have not fixed the To the Moon thing, and I'm still really upset about it. Hopefully, it will be fixed in live soon. Hey, I finally got to the hour mark after all. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me. Like, seriously, it means a lot to me. And bye.